Thank you very much for inviting me today. I'm delighted to be with you, dear Mr. Prezes, Mr. First Mayor, Madam Senator, Mr. Senator, members of the European Parliament, my dear members of the City Assembly of Hamburg. I would like to warmly welcome the honorary citizen of Hamburg, Professor Otto, and the Deputy Secretary General of the OECD. And first and foremost, I would like to say hello to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Just a few years ago, building this new hydrogen terminal would have been unthinkable. But here in Hamburg Harbor, we see this has become a reality, and soon it will be able to transform ammoniac into renewable hydrogen, and this will make a big contribution to decarbonizing one of the major industrial agglomerations in Germany. This will make Hamburg one of the very first ports in the world which will be able to import hydrogen in huge quantities. And in addition, there are manufacturers of steel, copper, and aluminium products who want to be able to produce cleanly, but who use huge amounts of energy. This will now be clean energy. And proximity to this terminal will be a huge competitive advantage. It's worth looking back at how and why we have managed to achieve this result in record time. When I took office 4 years ago as president, the idea was that hydrogen would be able to replace fossil fuels in shipping or in heavy industry. And that was already a serious possibility, but there was one thing still missing in order to make that a reality, and that was that investors need predictability. They need a clear and certain way forward, and that is what the European Green Deal has been able to provide. The European Green Deal hasn't just provided a clear forward-looking vision of making Europe a clean continent, a carbon-neutral continent, but it set also a binding legal framework which the European Parliament and all 27 member states have signed up to. And this means that Europe's political will is now clear. And this means that the world's biggest economic bloc has been able to provide the necessary certainty and predictability which investors need worldwide. But something else has also made this a reality. In February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. This war continues to be a disaster for Ukraine, but it has also caused serious problems to our industry. You will recall that before the war, we were highly dependent on Russian gas, and Putin knew that and built on that vulnerability. But when at the beginning of the war we came directly to Ukraine's aid, Putin tried to blackmail us through this vulnerability. He constantly reduced the gas supplies to the member states. We were able to resist, and we did go through a very severe energy crisis. There was a tenfold increase in prices, but we were able to break our dependency on Russian fossil fuels. We were able to diversify our sources. Our friends helped us, for example, the United States and Norway, and we have also managed to save 20% of our energy consumption. Our citizens here in Europe have reduced their consumption by 20%. We asked for 10%, and we ended up with 20% energy savings. The most important point is that we have, first and foremost, massively invested in renewable energies. The result of this is that last year, for the first time, we produced more electricity by wind and solar power than from gas. And this year, as the International Energy Agency is predicting, this year for the first time we will produce more energy from wind and solar than from gas. And that is means that it is clear for us that renewables are not just good for the climate. They are, of course, but they're also good for our energy independence. They are produced here, they create jobs here, and they have helped bring energy prices down to where they were before the war. And we have learned from Putin's blackmail and have set ourselves new goals. As of 2030, every year, we want to be able to produce, on a yearly basis, 10 million tons of clean hydrogen, and we want to be able to import a further 10 million tons. This is very ambitious, but achievable. And doing this here, what we're doing here in Hamburg, is a model project for all of Europe, and I can only congratulate you on that achievement. We are supporting this in a whole range of ways. We have the new auction system of the European Hydrogen Bank, and all this means that the hydrogen industry in Europe will be greatly stimulated. Hamburg is very much in the forefront of all this, and this is against the backdrop of a boom in renewable energies. In 2022, the growth in solar capacity was 50% as compared to the previous year. In 2023, another 40% increase. Developing solar energy is happening well before the original planned timetable in the run-up to 2030. And in the case of wind power, we have speeded up the whole authorization process for wind power plants. And this means that Germany last year was able to approve 3 times more onshore wind parks than the previous year. The more cost-effective renewable energy we produce, the easier and better it will be to produce new alternative energy sources for heavy industry and for shipping. And Hamburg is very much in the lead too in this respect. Ladies and gentlemen, the European Green Deal has set a framework and set the course. But as previous speakers have said, we will only move forward if we can roll up our sleeves and get down to work, all of us. And that is exactly what the Hamburg Chamber of Commerce and Industry is doing. It requires teamwork, courage, determination, and resilience. And with your proverbial farsightedness, Hanseatic farsightedness, you have taken up this opportunity. I'm not surprised. This is the oldest Chamber of Commerce in Europe, and you have the experience and understanding of the European Green Deal. You understood the opportunities it opens up, not just towards climate neutrality, but the European Green Deal is also about growth. The agenda, the Hamburg 2040 agenda, combines environmental responsibility with economic opportunity. We have heard from experts, you've heard from international organizations, such as the OECD, with whom you have worked. You have first and foremost involved your businesses in this process, because innovation is jobs. Prosperity are all down to businesses, first and foremost. And last but not least, you have set yourself clear goals. It's very important to have measurable goals, because we all know it's only what can be measured which will actually be put into practice. Ladies and gentlemen, our work is far from over. 2024 will be a decisive year. Experts are predicting more geo-economic tensions from the Red Sea to the Taiwan Straits. And this means that there are potentials for supply chains to be interrupted, greater volatility on the energy markets, and international competition will become harsher. These are the new realities we will have to deal with. And in addition, we have growing numbers of extreme weather crises due to global warming. We Europeans must stick together as never before. We will need to prepare, and we must be able to better prepare for these realities. Let me come briefly to two further issues. Firstly, energy infrastructure, and secondly, the importance of artificial intelligence for our competitiveness. Firstly, on energy. Energy prices need to fall further because they are structurally higher in Europe than in other parts of the world. And that means that we have to make the right decisions for investment now. In Brussels, we have already given the go-ahead for 166 new infrastructure projects in the energy sector. This ranges from power networks, both on land and on the sea, electrolyzers for hydrogen production. It covers transport and storage of CO2, but it also covers the supergrids, these extensive and secure networks which stretch across our whole continent. These networks are managed with the aid of artificial intelligence, and they can send the cheapest energy to where it is most needed in Europe. In this way, we can create a strong infrastructure for our economy. Secondly, digitalization. As you are all well aware, here, access to innovative technologies is ever more important. Innovating in the digital domain will help greatly improve productivity when it comes to use of 5G and faster assembly plants. We can increase production by 20 to 30%. The Hamburger port plays a key role in terms of 5G use, and we can see much greater potential still in the future. Our companies will become increasingly dependent on how well they can take on board artificial intelligence in their everyday business and activities. And I know this is a matter of great importance to you here in the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It's not just a question of larger companies, but even more so, in fact, for small and medium-sized companies. Just to take a few simple examples, AI-powered chatbots. In the case of companies with relatively few staff, they can help improve customer service. It saves time. And while the bot is dealing with routine questions over and over again, your staff will be able to deal with the really complicated issues which need immediate attention. Another example, artificial intelligence can reduce the interval between maintenance and optimize production processes. That applies to storage and to supply chains. Artificial intelligence, if used effectively and in a very pragmatic way, can help provide major cost benefits. And that's why it's very important to get down to work on this issue. One point which is of key importance is that Europe does have a clear competitive advantage in terms of data. We have a huge data industry, an enormous wealth of data, far more than any other world regions. We have the largest industrial wealth of data anywhere in the world. This data accumulates, but it's not used enough. And to use these flows of data with the aid of AI can help us achieve great quality improvements. At EU level, we're now working in a very focused way to ensure that SMEs will have greater access to these databases. It's not just a question of access to existing AI solutions, the ones I've just mentioned already, but it's also a question of ensuring that we can make innovative leaps into the future, which will be of worldwide importance. Let me give you a few examples. When I began my term of office in 2019, among the best 5 supercomputers worldwide, there was not a single European example. And we decided to invest massively in this field, 7 billion euros to be precise. Now, we have 4 of the top supercomputers worldwide are here in Europe. Lumi in Finland, Leonardo in Italy, Mare Nostrum in Spain, and recently Jupiter in Germany. So what are we going to do now with these supercomputers? Well, there are a lot of things you can do. Yesterday in the Commission College, we decided that our European startups, that they must have access to this computing power so that they will be able to bring their AI ideas to market. They will be able to test them. They will be able to further develop these ideas. And this means that Europe will turn into a bastion of high technology. And if we can achieve this, it will also have a huge impact in favor of climate neutrality, our topic for today. AI applications will help improve production. They will also help, for example, reduce energy consumption for lighting your premises. They will be able to manage heating or ventilation systems much more effectively. AI can develop logistics concepts which will, and in a way that can be constantly updated, taking account of traffic data and weather data, and identify the most favorable routes. So that's good for the climate, but it's also good for your bottom line. Ladies and gentlemen, at the same time, we must recognize that the energy transformation, tackling climate change, will require serious efforts by our citizens and our businesses. A willingness to change will be essential, but like any change of this kind, it will open up tens of thousands of new opportunities for our citizens. When President Biden talks about this issue, he always says that when I think of the climate, I think of jobs, and he's right. Let me give you a few examples. The number of people employed in the solar sector in 2022 in Europe increased by 39% to 650,000. And the forecasts for 2027 estimate that we should have double that, 1.2 million jobs. What other industrial sector could present figures of that kind? This is very encouraging. Of course, a lot of work still remains to be done. And one point is, I think, particularly important in this respect. If we want to achieve success, and we all do, it will very much require that we work in a united and harmonious fashion. Politicians can set the framework, but it is up to business to create innovation, business opportunities, and jobs. We have to work very closely together. We, in the European Commission, have an overview. We are informed about best practices right across Europe, be it in terms of climate change or artificial intelligence. And we want to collect these examples of best practice and share them with you. And this is something in which we hope that the Chamber of Commerce of Hamburg will be interested. It has always been has shown a pioneer spirit in this and in other respects. And I think other big cities across Europe can learn from Hamburg and its Chamber of Commerce and Industry. But we in the European Commission, not only can we share experience with you, but learn from your experience as well. Good practice, bad practice, all the things that we can learn from. And that is why at European level, we want to invite chambers of commerce and industry to regular exchanges of experience. Let me send out an invitation to you now today to that effect. Thank you for this initiative. And I must say, as I listen to what you have to say, I don't see any reason to worry that we will fail to achieve our goals. I'm quite sure we will. Thank you for inviting me to the beautiful city of Hamburg. Thank you very much.
Dankeschön.